We're live right now. Hey, welcome to the Saturday night feature here on the Willie Bragg Show. And tonight, right now, let me just say from the get-go, to hit the like button, and hit that subscribe button, hit the subscribe bell, the notification bell, hit the subscribe button. Like the video because it helps with the algorithms, and when you do that on when you're watching it on my channel. And right now, as I'm streaming it, it's just right now on my channel. It's going to be downloaded into the KRTD's StreamYard, and into their YouTube channel, hopefully tomorrow. And having a little difficulty right now with getting everything set up over there. So that's fine and everything. So I would that's okay. Also follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook. You'll find me on Twitch, all that stuff, and same thing, follow and support KRTD media and support independent media in general, and reject corporate media, as you hear me say pretty much several times a week when I do my live streams. So anyway, I hope everybody's having a wonderful 2023. And I would say, since there's no nuclear war so far this year, I guess that's probably consider a good start. I guess that the planet somehow is not involved in nuclear war yet is a good start. So that's something to take, I guess, a bit of comfort in. So what I'm going to do, just some announcements before I get started here with the live stream. As I said, they're having some issues with getting everything set up with KRTD Media, and hopefully that's going to get resolved. But here's what's going on. Tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Jimmy Sutherland and myself will be co-hosting. I will have a live stream set up where we'll both be co-hosting, discussing politics as usual and that sort of thing. And on Monday, I will be on the Jamar Jabari podcast at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will put the information on the description box once the video stream is over tonight. As I'm editing it, I'm watching the Secret Show, with co-hosted by Uncle Warren and Jimmy Sutherland. And do in fact subscribe and watch Extra Booyah. That's the name of the channel. And give them your support. Give Uncle Warren and Jimmy Sutherland your support. They're great people, great team to watch live and all of that. So anyway, So we'll be doing all that. And see, on Monday, as I said, Jamar Jabari at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 6:30, same day. I'll be busy. Same day. I will be basically online interviewing Keaton and Russell from Due Dissidence, one of the fastest growing shows right now, seemingly on the online left. And discovered them this past summer, and I I've been hooked since watching it. I watch it pretty much as often as I can. So there you have it. And all the people I just mentioned, please support them, subscribe to their channels, give these troublemaking muckrakers, they're trying to make a positive difference, give them your support. So that's basically, what I want to say and all that. So let's, I would say right now, let's start with the very first story. It's just something, I will start with something kind of hilarious because I thought it was hilarious. So, and I just, when I saw it earlier this week, I went for this to a friend of mine, and this person thought this story was funny as hell too, and it is. It's sad, but it's funny. So we'll start with Farron Cousins. He's a bit of a normie when it comes to the politics. I mean, he's got good politics, but he's a bit of a normie Democrat, more than I like someone to be. But he has a dry wit about him and a no-nonsense politics that I do like about him. And in spite of his being on a camp in the blue camp, I do like how he roasts Republicans, and he does, and he will roast Democrats who deserves to be roasted. Although I'm at this point, I'm going to say they all deserve to be roasted along with the Republicans. But suffice to say, when it comes to roasting Republicans, he is second to none, and he does it in a way where he doesn't sound like a silly partisan hack in the way that you hear it in mainstream media. I mean, he can still make it kind of sound edgy. So here we go. All right, so here's the first story. All right, well, let me get everything set up. All right, okay, and get it full screen. And take it away, Farron Cousins.
On Monday evening, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham went on Fox News and committed a bit of an oopsie. He said a profanity live on the air on cable news. It was aired, so Fox News is going to get a fine from the FCC because that's what happens when you let the swear words fly. So, that's bad enough. And what's funny to me about this segment, which I will show you in just a minute, you watch Lindsey Graham look like an idiot. But there's something else about this segment that I'm a little, I just guess, confused about why nobody else picked up on it. And it's Lindsey Graham's appearance.
And let me just interrupt Farron Cousins for a second. He is correct. Lindsey Graham is an idiot, and it tells you a lot about the state that's south of me, about the electorate that's willing to keep voting for that moron. But there's a lot of morons that are elected here in North Carolina too. So there you have it.
There is something very different about the way Lindsey Graham looks today compared to pretty much how he's always looked. So here is the segment. Of course, be warned, Lindsey Graham lets a profanity fly. But focus less on the words and more on how Lindsey Graham looks. Here it is.
That's what Trump did. Trump didn't have a magic wand. He scared the shit out of Mexico. He told the Mexican government that if you don't help me, I'm going to put tariffs on every product coming across the border. Guess what? The Mexican government all of a sudden said, hey, I'd like to help. Under Trump, you couldn't apply for asylum in the United States. You had to remain in Mexico.
All right, we're going to have to send you a bar of soap. And Dana Perino, who's watching very, very religiously, is very offended.
I forgot about that.
I don't like Lindsey Graham, but the fact that he used some profane words up there, at least he doesn't. I mean, at least he's occasionally not clutching his pearls in public, literally.
I understand.
He's friggin' orange, folks. And you can see when he closes his eyes, right? When he blinks, a slow blink, you can see that the eyelids are not as dark as the rest of the face, which, of course, is a good indication that Lindsey Graham is using a fake tanner. But he's orange, right? It's not just like, oh, okay, you're using a fake tanner. Maybe you got a spray tan. Hell, maybe you just came back from a vacation in the Bahamas, right? No, he's orange. Just like his buddy and idol, Donald Trump. So I know the headlines on this story, I've seen it on several different websites, all talking about, oh, goodness, Lindsey Graham let a swear slip on live TV. Yeah, sure, that's a thing. That happened. We heard it. But he's orange. And I cannot stress that enough. Lindsey Graham is slowly morphing into Donald Trump. Like quite literally before our eyes, he is now going to the same Trump school of cosmetology, apparently. Either that, or after that interview, he was going to apply for a job with Willy Wonka. But he's orange. Could it be, folks, could it be that Lindsey Graham has idolized Donald Trump so hard that he is now actually trying to emulate his look, like he's trying to become him? I mean, do we have to deal with that now? Like all those weird, stalker type movies that we've seen over the years where the stalker becomes so obsessed with the person they start to try to look like them and they just become overly obsessed with them. I mean, next thing you know, is Lindsey Graham going to go out there talking about the huge problem on the border? Is he going to start tweeting like Donald Trump, randomly capitalizing words in the middle of his tweets? I mean, we are witnessing the complete and total de-evolution, almost the de-personification of Lindsey Graham as he morphs into Lindsey Trump. I guess next we can expect a really, really bad comb over. I mean, luckily, Lindsey Graham has clearly more hair than Donald Trump, but I don't know, maybe he'll go thin it out himself just so he can look more like his buddy. But the orangeness, I'm sorry, I can't get over. And I feel like everybody who's only focusing on the swear word there, you're missing the fact that Lindsey Graham is trying to make himself look like Donald Trump. And that's probably the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. Hi, everyone. This here is a little theme.
Yeah, that's Farron Cousins from Fair and Balance, and he also hosts a Ring of Fire. And as I said, he's always funny on how he always has a short list of people he likes to roast on his show. And I tell you the truth, now nobody can roast Marjorie Taylor Greene more than he's second to none when it comes to roasting Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I have joked that probably the only person that has Marjorie Taylor Greene derangement syndrome more than I do might be Farron Cousins. I've seen him go at it a whole lot. So anyway, I just thought I'd kind of start off with that story right there, and everything. So, just kind of start off with a little bit of levity. So let's go into our next story here, and that's going to be from Revolutionary Blackout Network. Earlier last week, now I can say it's last week at this point, I interviewed JB from James Fauntleroy from the Javante Show. Also co-host with he's one of the co-hosts of Revolutionary Blackout Network. We had a great discussion, awesome interview, and all that. Anyway, here is RBN, and they're discussing basically Anna Kasparian and her Brianna Joy Gray derangement syndrome. And there seems to be a lot of that going on within the boutique left, folks. If they're not beating up on Jimmy Dore, they're beating up on Brianna Joy Gray, and frankly, I mean, honestly, she's a damn truth teller. I mean, that's what it comes down to, and she was the best part of the 2020 Bernie Sanders campaign. If there was somebody in the Bernie Sanders campaign that deserved any praise, that would have been Brianna Joy Gray. She was the press secretary, the national press secretary for Bernie Sanders, and she was the conscience of Bernie Sanders, like the old school conscience. And honestly, if they would have been like, if they could have had 20 Brianna Joy Grays working for him, we could have seen a President Bernie Sanders, and we could have probably seen things that we all, whether you're boutique, dirtbag, or a little bit of both within the online left ecosystem, the basic things we all want, we could have probably have seen. So anyway, I think she's awesome myself. I can't get enough of Brianna Joy Gray. So, but anyway, here's Anna Kasparian with her Brianna Joy Gray derangement syndrome. And here's RBN having a discussion about it, and I'll comment myself.
Read one super chat because it asks an important question. I actually was tempted in talking about this a little bit in the previous segment, but I decided against it.
Because look at what you just said there. I wanted to say this earlier, but I wanted to be able to play. Play that beginning part again and pause it around 10 seconds. Play it again and pause it like 10 seconds.
I want to read one super chat because it asks an important question. I actually was tempted in talking about this a little bit in the previous segment, but I decided against it. Now I'm going.
That's 10 seconds. Keep going.
You guys see how she said she wasn't going to talk about this, but then decided to? Because she got
the very next segment. The very next segment.
You guys see? So TYT did a poll, and it will show that 80% of TYT's own audience supported Force the Vote. So the reason why Anna Kasparian didn't talk about this because she got a chat that was like, "Yo, what about that Force the Vote shit, Anna?" What about that? Now you guys know why they want people to move on, even their own audience, and even the people who may not have discipline. But they're not bad faith, right? They want TYT because they don't know me better. But even they was like, what the fuck is this? So they get these questions all the time. And so look at what Anna said. She said, I didn't want to talk about this. She didn't want to talk about Force the Vote.
You have to understand, Nick. You have to understand, and I think you do. Anna and Shank are bought off by that Katzenberg money. And that's what it comes down to. And I sound like a broken record saying that, but the fact remains that since Katzenberg, I can't think of his first name, Jeffrey Katzenberg, that's his name, went and gave TYT that $20 million endowment in 2017, I guess it was. You saw how the quality of TYT kind of went downhill. So, I mean, and yeah, you know that. And we're having a big old laugh about it because it is funny. It's funny how downhill they are, talking about the Young Turks. But anyway, we'll continue.
But she got a question. You guys see that? I want to emphasize that. But now let's go ahead and play it.
All right, let's go. All right.
Going to. The question is, can you explain how this Force the Vote is different than Dems Force the Vote? There are lots of Force the Vote proponents who say AOC should have done what the Republicans are doing now with Pelosi in 2020.
You see how she didn't want to talk about that?
Force the Vote.
This is a big thing. She's like, I wasn't going to talk about it. I might have been saying later. But her audience is watching shit like, nigga, are you not going to address the elephant in the room?
They didn't want to. They didn't want to.
Was about withholding votes for Nancy Pelosi's speakership role until she made the concession that there would be a floor vote on single-payer health care in the House, which would have failed. Okay.
We all know that it would have probably failed. It might have actually passed too, because there was a pandemic right there. Anna, you know that there was a pandemic. We all know there was a pandemic. DSA came up with the idea of forcing the vote way back in 2019 before they didn't even anticipate or predict that there would be a COVID-19 or pandemic crisis back then. But their idea was to use leverage with a small number of people in Congress to pressure them, the legislators, the more mainstream legislators, elected members, to go and to adopt policies into a better direction. I don't know if this is what DSA were thinking, but maybe they were, and if they weren't, I kind of think they were. So here's what happened. Okay. What happened basically is this, and what happened basically is this, and that's that the NDP in Canada, the New Democratic Party of Canada, basically is a small third party in that country, and hold on a second here, let me take care of something here real quick. I'm streaming, and I will download it for later, if that is okay. Okay. Sorry about that. I just had to take care of something real quick. Let me just get this. As I was saying, I think that what happened is that the NDP in Canada is a small third party, what I was saying. And they kind of leverage the Liberal Party and sometimes the Conservative Party into doing positive legislation. So, I mean, when Medicare for All became a thing in Canada in 1966 through the Canada Health Act, there were conservative MPs that voted in favor of it. Remember, Saskatchewan was the first province to enact Medicare for all, their Medicare for All system in 1962, I believe it was, and it was such a success that it was proposed federally, and in 1966, the Health Act of 1966 made Medicare for All available to everyone. And I think that pretty much the liberals, most liberals voted for it. Of course, the NDP virtually voted for it. And I think that maybe many conservatives or a number of conservative MPs, some conservative MPs voted for it too. So the thing is to basically guilt trip our mainstream politicians into doing what is right. Corporate Democrats could have been guilt tripped. Well, gee, if I vote against healthcare, what this could mean. Even in the red states, these Republicans, some of these Republicans will be like, well, I don't believe them. I don't believe in this government handouts, but these people are dying of COVID here in Texas or here in Alabama. If I'm just the problem to my healthcare, I could get my rear end roasted in the next election. So maybe it could have been a situation where they could have just decided to go ahead and to do the right thing, pressure the politicians to do the right thing, to vote. I think that's one option. The other option is to basically make the corporate Democrats look so horrible that they get primaried. And here's the thing. And the two guys from Due Dissidence, Russell and Keaton, said this, that maybe they had the wrong idea about Medicare for All, that maybe that the progressives or the left flank of the Democratic Party should have just voted present or not vote for Nancy Pelosi at all, vote against Nancy Pelosi just out of principle, just to get rid of her, which that didn't cross my mind, but That sounds like a good idea too. As good as pressuring Nancy Pelosi for force the vote. So so there is also that. So anyway, let's see. Let me type this here. Okay. Anyway, what happened basically? That's basically what happened right there. So that's what could have happened with force the vote. And honestly, what you saw with the Republicans was with the Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert wing of the Republican Party, that tiny ultra right wing group, a group of people that I absolutely loathe. I'm weirded out to say that I have to respect them more than I do the squad, not because I like them on an ideological level. Obviously, I am on the same page with the squad, more so than I am anybody in Washington, D.C. that's in an elected seat. But, well, on paper anyway. But, and having that said, yet, however, moreover, they were willing to use the tactic that the left weren't willing to use, the right wing. So that's basically the purpose of force the vote. And the right used it, and they took a left wing idea and used it to their advantage. I'm being long winded. I'll let RBN, and I guess I'll let Anna Kasparian continue.
Okay, so the ask was for a vote that would fail. I mean, I at this point, I almost just wish that it would have happened, because I would give anything to have Brianna Joy Gray move on with her life and maybe talk.
Okay, that was a cheap shot at Brianna Joy Gray. That really was a cheap shot at her. If Brianna Joy Gray, and I've been accused of being obsessed with force the vote too. But the thing about it is, if Brianna Joy Gray or somebody else on the left that supports force the vote can't get over it, it's because we had an opportunity, Anna. We had an opportunity to force them. Even if it wouldn't have been forced, even if it would have been Medicare for all. And actually, tell you the truth, I think that this would have been the most realistic outcome. It's called concessions for a reason. Leverage. Nancy Pelosi would have been like, holy crap, I got to do something about this. I got to keep these people, I got to go and do something, or they're going to destroy us. So she would have been like, okay, we can't do Medicare for all, but maybe we'll lower Medicare eligibility down to 60 or 55 or 50. I bet you that the squad would have gone along with it. Even though I favor Medicare for all, if that would have happened and it would have passed, I would have been happy about it personally, because I'm in my 50s. I would have been able to go on Medicare. I wouldn't have to worry about private health insurance so much. So there is that. Or prescription drug reform. You know, the thing that Kirsten Sinema pretended that she was going to campaign on, and then she ended up getting bought out by Big Pharma and acted like she was a victim because, some supposedly loud left-wing activists try to hold her accountable. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
And by the way, Brianna Joy Gray, I don't know if you saw this, CJ, called Anna out after this video. I'm down to talk about this. We see if Anna wants that heat.
They don't like to have intellectual conversations, because the last one, with the Jake conversation, I don't know if you broke that down. That was one of our most highly watched videos when we broke that down, that interview he did with Jake. And it did not go well at all in their own comments. Their own comments, not us. I'm talking, it did not go well at all, that interview. And then I posted it on Twitter, and it went viral. It went like 100,000 views. People it was like 3,000 comments shredding it. And I tagged that motherfucker too, so I know he heard. I know he saw it.
Yeah, TYT got fucking destroyed by Matt Gaetz. Can you imagine Anna Kasparian versus Brianna Joy Gray? That will be a slaughterhouse, son. Anna couldn't hold a finger to Bree or anyone who ever been on this network. She literally just repeats bullshit talking points and got there because she was the first one there on TYT. There is no meritocracy here.
I guarantee she won't take it.
I guarantee she won't take it. Because I saw Bree reply to this like, hey, yo, Anna, you can talk. You got a free invitation to come on my show and talk about this. Guarantee she won't take it. I really.
Yeah. Now, to Shank Ugert's credit, even though he was still kind of a jerk about it on TYT Conversation, he did have Brianna Joy Gray on this past summer, to his credit. But he ruined it by his demeanor toward her, because he just basically started attacking her and basically saying she was right when she held her own. And honestly, I could just see it. I mean, she's noticing Brianna Joy Gray over the years. She can carry her own, and she can basically destroy anybody she debates, and do it in a way where she's not angry, and I mean, and she's polite, and you know, with her usual charm and her brilliance, she can just cut somebody down to size and chew them up and spit them out, and just basically just have them just totally humiliated. And she can do it, and do it with her soft charm, because she's unique like that. She's awesome like that. A talent you don't have, Anna. And that's probably why Anna won't go on that show, you know? So, just that would explain that with regard to the, Compton J and Nick Cruz's comment right here. So there's, I've been noticing in the last 2 years, just 2.5 years since Bernie Sanders dropped out of the campaign, almost 3 years actually, that there's been a lot of attacks by people supposedly all on our side, going after Brianna Joy Gray. And, people got a right to their opinions. I mean, there are online left personalities I don't like. I mean, I have a complete I absolutely dislike Ryan Grimm. I absolutely dislike Nomiki Konst. There are people that I absolutely despise. So people can dislike whoever they want to dislike, and it's up to them, and they have their reasons. I don't like Vosh. I don't like Dylan Burns. I don't like any of these people, But people got a right to pick and choose who they like to listen to for whatever reasons and all that. But Brianna Joy Gray is the fall guy, or in her case, the fall gal of some of the more boutique lefts, especially those who kind of slide more into shit liberty.
I really do. That would be great content. I really do hope she does.
Their debates with black people haven't gone well. Brianna Joy is one that sticks out. Ole M.A. also, I don't know if you saw, she went on there about bail reform. It did not go well when she had the facts, and Cenk could just say, because remember, during that is when she didn't know Cenk was not on the screen. So she was seeing Cenk's face, and she was commenting on camera, saying, Cenk, I have the facts. It doesn't matter if you shake your head. This is what it is. Like, so you can clearly see that he was being a baby off screen. So it would not go well.
The only thing about Cenk Uygur, and there's a lot of things about Cenk Uygur. Cenk Uygur is another one who likes, just like Sam Cedar, wants to call somebody the dumb left, and call somebody, the names that they're used as the dumb. They call anybody to their left right wing. They call them the dumb left. They call them her Cenk. And it was kind of funny. Cenk one day referred to Jimmy Dore and the Gray Zone people as dirtbag degenerates and all of that. And it was funny. But it was Cenk being the usual jerk that he is. Cenk has done. I'm not talking about Cenk's past being a Republican. Cenk was a Republican in the 1990s all the way to the time of the Iraq War. and he wasn't even the worst kind of Republican back then. He was more libertarian leaning. He came out. I mean, he grew up as a Turkish American, and he was fairly secular in his upbringing, and socially moderate to libertarian leaning. He made some mildly sexist blogs when it came to his dating life in college, I guess, and some people held that against him, like the Justice Democrats were holding that, organization he helped create it. They said, well, what is this? You wrote this sexist blog when he was a Republican, and everybody knew he was a Republican. So anyway, but even now, Cenk Uygur, who was not too keen on unions, even as the head of the Young Turks, it took a Jimmy Dore to turn him against the death penalty. Jimmy Dore convinced Cenk Uygur that the death penalty was wrong. He was still one of those holdout of people who were supposedly progressive that was still in favor of the death penalty. So there's a lot to be desired when it comes to Cenk Uygur calling everybody right wing when he's got to this day some fairly reactionary positions. I'm just saying, and so that's what I'm saying. And look, I'm not a very politically correct kind of person. I'm a leftist. There are people to my left. There are people to my right. I am who I am, and that's fine. And I'm trying to make this about me, but and there are people that I completely disagree with. That as long as they're not a douche to me, I'll be okay with them. Whether they're to my left or to my right, there are people who I know. I can think of a couple of people I worked with in my SPUSA days that had roughly the same politics I have, that I didn't get along with. One of them is a kind of a well-known union person, and he was still up to his same old crap on a Facebook comment section. So I don't normally block, but if you're going to be too much of an ass after all these years, I'm going to block. But anyway, I'm just thinking about something from the past. Sorry about that. I do that sometimes.
All they can do is scream, Nick. That's how their audience only believe them because nobody challenges them, and they have nobody with a opposing point of view. They just it's truly the only way for their audience. We say bring people on. We have conservatives. We have people on the left. We have non-political people. We say bring it on all the time. But let's continue with the video unless you had something. Thank you for the super sticker, Gaza West. All right,
we continue.
We talk about something different. Like, it's ridiculous. But this McCarthy situation is different because the concessions that McCarthy has agreed to don't even matter for the group of Republicans who refuse to vote for him.
There may be some truth because they're all crazy on the Republican side. That's a dumb position. It's all about style. But but the thing is that it is a little bit about policy too, because are you going to be this amount of aggressive for this crappy policy, or are you going to be a little more bold about how crappy you're going to be about a policy? So I guess maybe in that regard, there might be a little bit of difference, but we'll let you continue.
Okay. They don't care about the concessions. They don't trust him, and they've said so. They don't.
Yes, and the Democratic Party left. The squad should have, instead of calling Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear, AOC, and letting Nancy Pelosi bully you around, AOC. You should have just sat there and be like Matt Gaetz and be like Lauren Boebert and get in her face all the time in the way that Kevin McCarthy and Lauren Boebert were getting on at Kevin McCarthy's face. I know decorum politics is popular. I am, as a general rule, I try to be civil with people as a general rule myself. But you know, when I go and give money to certain candidates or give them my support, even on my platform, rah rah rah, when I was doing my little, you know, symbolic pom poms for the squad a couple of years ago, I want them to represent me and fight in DC. I know they're not going to get everything. I'm realistic. I know we're not going to get everything we want out of them, but they need to fight, not just sit there and play along just to get along, just to be, you know, just to be pals with the corporate Democrats. But that's exactly what happened. And you had your little meltdowns over it. And you might have had the hair bun kind of tight that day. But you did have a meltdown, and the meltdown was sincere. You were turning into Jimmy Dore that day. I think that also bothered you.
They don't trust him. They're not going to vote for him. It's not about concessions. The whole force the vote thing was about an ask that would...
You see how she just made them actually producing concessions, saying it's not about concessions? So she can just move on now. So she can just move on. I've already said it's not about concessions for them, so she can just move on.
And she's misleading her audience. I showed you guys the receipt. I wanted to leave with that early to show that they were getting concessions that are socially conservative concessions. They are having concessions on spending bills. And they are literally making Kevin McCarthy agree to be more socially conservative, more fiscally conservative. That's literally what the whole thing about, and he is giving them that. So she is misleading her audience. That's literally what the article I put. But once again, in non-meritocracy, what we say last episode, CJ, these white people, they can get on stream. They don't have to do any research because they got producers that do it for them. We do all our research here. All they have to do to make it in this space is be white, pretty, and confident. You don't have to have any sort of intellectual knowledge. You don't have to have any receipts. You can be just blatantly wrong. Like Anna said, they don't got any concessions. They did get concessions. They did get
the only
concessions.
thing I would add is you don't only have to be pretty because there's jank. So you gotta be, you get what I'm saying? So it's just if you're willing to really go to the mat for the establishment status quo. That's what they want. And that's what we're seeing with Ryan Grin. That's what we're seeing with Sam. It's literally in the face of all logic and proof. With your own eyes, they're still trying to act like somehow this wouldn't be a great strategy. Let me read a couple of things I have written down. If we don't understand what's happening here, Nick, just take a step back, a wide view back, a look at the progressive strategy, the Justice Democrat strategy, the inside game, and you tell me how this not has slipped into the abyss of the right. You tell me this haven't shifted majorly to the right, the strategy? Look what they're okay with, Nick. They're okay with funding Ukraine. They're okay with funding Israel. They're okay with strike breakers. That's not a non-cancelable offense. And now we get to this, where they're being proven to have been wrong with force to vote, and we could have tangible wins from these clowns, and they still have these defenders, Nick. It's amazing to me how we have this strategy has shifted right, and nobody's saying nothing about how the strategy has shifted right.
Thank you for the $5, Alexandra. She says, "Stay salty, Anna. The left is done with these unserious clowns." These deeply unserious clowns, I would like to add.
Yes.
And then she says, "Fully exposed." Thank you for the $5, Alexandra. Let's continue the video, CJ.
Absolutely. I think it's just about over a few more seconds.
That would have ultimately failed and could have potentially hurt single-payer healthcare or the pursuit of single-payer healthcare.
It would have hurt it.
Because
it would have hurt it. So the person who has medical debt, the poor people who are for Medicare for all, they would have saw the rich ruling class, the Congress that has a 24% approval rating, the people who are massively hated, they would see them deny their right to get healthcare, and then they're like, you know what? They got a point. Is that what Anna really think will happen? The poor people who are for healthcare, the conservatives who are for healthcare, literally the 1/3 of Republicans that will poll that for Medicare for all, a lot of them are for it because fiscal conservative reasons. You think all these people that are for Medicare for all are going to see it fail? They're going to see the ruling class deny them, and then they're going to be like, "Shit, guess we can't have it." What is the historical What a historical comparison to that.
We're no closer to having Medicare for all. In fact, we're probably further away from having Medicare for all because we didn't do force to vote. Force to vote would have kept that issue very hot on the table. You would have saw more Medicare for all marches, and than you did in 2021. You would have saw you would have just seen a lot of politicians. You would have probably seen a Tea Party of the left, but it would have been for Medicare for all. It would have been like the Tea Party, but without the harmful politics of the Tea Party. But in this case, it'll be more like a Medicare for all style Tea Party without what is cringe about the Tea Party from 10 years ago.
Has that ever been a thing? So when women lost the women's suffrage vote over and over again, when NHS failed in the UK over and over again, did the people like, oh shit, I guess the rules last told us we couldn't have that. Shit, man, I guess we tried. Fuck. Guess I gotta vote for King Jeffrey now. Like no one thinks this. No one thinks this. And this is the point. And I'll pass to you because this set me off. Because when we played the Rokfin video, Anna is not gaslighting and tricking us. We are not dumb enough to fall for this shit. That is the funny part. We are the ones who are laughing, smoking a blunt, having fun, exposing these idiots. What they are doing, if you're one of the people from TYT who trickled over here, they are lying to you. Rokfin is gaslighting you. AOC has little respect for your intellect, not ours, right? They know that we can do it. This is for Anna's dumb simps and for the dumb people who watch TYT. We are going to tell you this. You guys are too dumb to question our logic. She don't have to say shit that makes sense because she has no respect for your intelligence. You guys understand? I don't come on here and bullshit you guys because I know your ass going to be calling me out. I got a reputation uphold among the proletariat. She don't give a fuck. All the smart proletarians that see through her shit, she like, piss off, I'm block you. I'm here to farm the dumbasses. I'm here to cultivate and make a career out of the dumb left. So that's the most funny part. She thinks her own supporters are dumb. The same way
she had Bosch on too. They just recently had Bosch on. I saw the. I didn't see it. I just saw the little advertisement that they just had. Bosch on.
Well, with Bosch, the fact that the only good thing about Bosch is that he defends shoe on head, and that he put J.K. Rowling in her place with her anti-trans sentiment. Other than that, maybe there's a few issues here and there he's okay with, but Bosch is very deceptive because he's a foreign policy neocon dressed up as a hipster. I mean, he's like a DSA hipster. I think he's in DSA. He reminds me of somebody who would be in DSA. He's like this DSA wannabe hipster who's basically incorporating a soft Bush-Cheney era neocon foreign policy. I'm not conspiratorial, but I do think that he kind of morphed in that direction. I don't think he's bought out like some people claim he is in that regard, but I just think it's just the way the American politics gravitate with the Overton window that someone like a Bosch coming into the scene would take such cringe positions. In other words, he's a sheep and wolf. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Right. That's crazy, and I think the Vanguard covered it too. I think that's where I also saw it. But let's finish this because I do want to play the AOC video one more time when she was with Alex.
Actually, I'm kind of budgeting for time, so if I think about it, I'm going to go ahead and put the links down for this later on. Anyway, so what we're going to do. We're speaking of force to vote, and this is a continuation of Brianna Joy Gray and Jimmy Dore for that matter. And this is somebody that I used to know when I was in SPUSA, Ben Burgess. Now, while I am kind of rough on people who are against force to vote, Ben Burgess might be the exception. He might be the only person who in the online left ecosystem who's against force to vote that I don't have a problem with, and it's not because I knew him years ago. He's even though I disagree with his position on force to vote, I mean, his argument, you know, he does kind of make an argument for it. His argument or his take on it, I do think he wants it, and he thinks his path is the best way. I do think he's sincere. I just don't think that path is going to bring us Medicare for all. So in his case, it's a respectful. I have a respectful disagreement with him in terms on how to achieve Medicare for all, as opposed to, you know, some of the others out there that are all in, you know, all basically trying to do everything they can to hide that dirty little subject of healthcare for all. You know, why we can't have nice things. I always like to tell people in this country. So anyway, this is Give Them an Argument. Ben Burgess, I'll play you. I'm going to put it on high speed for time's sake, and then we'll get to this. And so let's get started here. I'll get it on. I think I'm going to go ahead and put it on 1.25. There we go.
I think it's worth spending just a minute on, and maybe we can follow up next week, which is a interaction that's been happening over the course of the last several days. So people may have been following that last week there was a lot of drama about the Speaker of the House election, where Kevin McCarthy, who eventually ended up winning the Speaker election, was opposed by was opposed by the sort of a lot of people in the sort of the hardliners within what's called the House Freedom Caucus. It used to be called the Tea Party. In fact, I would argue that this wing of the Republican Party is still a lot more like the Tea Party than people who take Republican populism seriously would like to admit. In fact, it seems like a lot of what those guys want is more budget cuts. And I think that, and I think, as George Carlin says, they're coming for your Social Security. But a lot of people took the opportunity to sort of revisit a tactical argument that had gone on the left back in January 2021, which was about something called Force the Vote, which was the idea that AOC or the Squad or possibly the House Progressive Caucus, which is a much larger and more politically mixed entity, than the Squad itself. You have a lot of people who are actually pretty moderate in that, should have used the occasion of that Nancy Pelosi Speaker election, January 2021, as a chance to, they should have withheld their votes in order to extract from her the concession of her holding a floor vote on Medicare for all.
And it really should have been done. I mean, honestly, I just thought that the time was right, man. I really did. I really thought that the time was right to do this. I thought it was probably the best time in my lifetime to see something like this happen.
That was the idea of Force the Vote. Sometimes some of its advocates said, we could also throw in other demands, but realistically, 99.99999% of the discussion was about having a floor vote on Medicare for all. So for example, Brianna Joy Gray, you wrote an article for Current Affairs where she was advocating, it's called The Case for Forcing a Floor Vote on Medicare for All. And I never bought this. I don't think it's the most important issue ever. I actually think it's a pretty unimportant tactical question, sort of like, should some politicians have tried a parliamentary maneuver 2 years ago? I think it's probably something that's not worth spending too many minutes on the show. But my perspective was always that what people like Brianna, people like Jimmy Dore, who was like sort of the figure who was most associated with this demand, were saying didn't really make sense to me. And I wrote an article for Jacobin where I responded. It was called Jimmy Dore is right about the urgency of Medicare for all, but AOC isn't the problem. And the case I make it there is having a floor vote on Medicare for all under these circumstances is going to be completely pointless at best and actually counterproductive at worst.
But I don't think how could it be any more counterproductive than the status quo? Nobody who's against force of vote has the answer to that question. They don't have the answer to that question. That it isn't practical to do force of vote. To do force of vote is just not practical. It's not going to give us Medicare for all. That's always the answer. It's probably likely, but it's not 100% likely that we won't get Medicare for all. We could have gotten Medicare for all. We could have gotten something, might have been less than Medicare for all, but not doing anything got us nothing. And we're no better off now, the 2 years from this debate from 2 years ago than now. And that's why I still go and talk about Medicare for all. And it is this time of year that I will revisit this issue every year. This time I go on and on and on about forced to vote, in late December, January, and I'll probably fizzle it out by February about it. Because I'm always going to remember that this was like the biggest opportunity that we had. And, no, it's not necessarily all about AOC, but AOC is the public face of the squad. And when you think of the squad, you think of AOC, because the cameras are always on her in the ways that the cameras are not on everyone else. And, she has a talent agency, so working with her. So she presents herself like an actress in a lot of ways, like a celebrity. And so, with the drama that she likes to kind of walk around with, guess what? She's going to get a lot of dramatic response, not just from the obnoxious right wing, which when the right wing attacks AOC, they're the ones that are attacking her from a wrong position most of the time. And that's where I would defend AOC. Even now, I would defend AOC when the right attacks her. Attacks her on whatever they're attacking her on, accusing her of things that she wouldn't do, or making accusations about her, or just basically calling her an evil person. Now, I don't think she's evil, but if she were to be considered evil by me, not for the reasons that the right wing would consider her evil, I would say she needs to grow up, and I'll go into that later on with all the damn electric stoves versus gas stoves comments that's been going on lately. But we'll let this continue.
And what I mean by that is, at the time, right, Democrats had the slimmest of majorities. Now they have the slimmest of minorities, but they had the slimmest of majorities, and about half of them were co-sponsors for Medicare for All. We had just gone through an election where, like, the Democratic primaries for like a year, the main issue in the primaries was Medicare for All. Everybody had taken a position on this. This, like, if you remember any of those primary debates, there was always like an hour of arguing about Medicare for All in each of those primary debates, without exception. And so,
yes, but in the beginning of the primaries, presidential primaries, and in various primaries for U.S. Senate and U.S. House in the Democratic Party all around the country at the time, during those early months, late 2019, early 2020, when there was kind of some semblance of normality before COVID started doing its thing, Medicare for All was considered an abstract debate. But then it became something of great urgency with the rise of COVID. Even more so with people losing their access to health coverage when they got laid off from their jobs. And the fact that the right wing in this country, not just those rascally Republicans, but those cowardly Democrats that stand for nothing and proud of it to this day, the Joe Manchins of the world, the Abigail, what's her name? Abigail Spanbergers in Virginia, those Democrats, the Hakeem Jeffries of the Democratic Party, these corporate Democrats, they're proud to stand for nothing. They are, and it makes them just as much of an enemy as the Republicans. And honestly, if you're a Democrat and you campaign for Medicare for All, and you campaign and that is your brand, and once you're in there and you do next to nothing and you just play along to get along, what makes you different from a corporate Democrat at that point? That's what I'd like to know. That's what I would like to know. The urgency is there. And time is running out for a lot of people. Time is running out.
Anybody who wasn't a co-sponsor by January 2021 was making no secret whatsoever of their opposition to Medicare for all. So I was thinking, okay, so you have half of the, and look, I'm sure some of the people who were co-sponsors would have, gotten weak at the knees if there was ever a chance that Medicare for all would have become a reality, and that the insurance industry would have taken out their wrath on them if they'd helped make it so, or it looked like they were in danger of helping make it so. But even assuming every single co-sponsor held fast, it would have been a 3-1 defeat with no suspense or drama whatsoever, because in 50% of the Democrats in the House were openly opposed to Medicare for all. 100% of the Republicans were. So, and it was about a 50-50 House. So that's a 75% no votes. And so, again, there's no drama, there's no suspense, there's 0% chance it wouldn't have failed by at least 3-1. So having a floor vote under those circumstances, it seemed to be that the best case scenario, the absolute best case scenario, would be nobody noticed.
Okay. I'm not so convinced. You're right, Ben, about the insurance companies and big pharma are in the pockets of 100% of Republicans, pretty much, compared to the 50% of the Democrats in that regard. You're right, but I think it's entirely possible we might have some independent-minded Republican in some district somewhere that would have probably at least been willing to vote for some kind of a public option or something, or at least, or maybe even Medicare for all. I think that there are exceptions in people, even people that I adamantly disagree with. And you and I come from the same tradition. We came out of the old Socialist Party USA. You and I, we were both in the Socialist Party USA. You're a member of DSA currently. I used to be in DSA. And we more or less have we more or less come out of we came out of the same cloth ideologically. Probably in some areas we still do. Some areas you're further left than I am, in some areas I'm further left than you, but whatever. We both know that the first country in the world to enact national health insurance was Germany in 1881. And it wasn't Rosa Luxemburg, and it wasn't Karl Marx and Frederick Engels, and it wasn't anybody radical that created that healthcare system. It was Otto von Bismarck, Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, a conservative. And we know why that vote was forced into national health insurance to cover everybody in Germany. And that's because they were scared of the Social Democratic Party, one of the first socialist parties founded in the world that was growing at the time. Yes, the SPD back then was a more militant party in the 19th century than it is today. Be kind of nice if the Social Democrats in Germany today could be a little more militant, but I digress. But the point is, they were scared of the SPD, and they were scared that the SPD could take over Germany. And they were like, oh my gosh, we got to do something. So Germany in the late 19th century engaged in a series of reforms. And they had what looked like New Deal under FDR, plus a little bit more with a national health insurance system. We didn't even have that with FDR, although FDR did want that, by the way, give him credit for it. But that's kind of what Force the Vote did. They were the Christian Democratic Party and the conservatives in Germany in the late 19th century were forced to vote the correct way because they feared the wrath of the SPD. That's an example of forcing the vote in a roundabout way, Ben. And I say this out of respect. I mean, if you would be Ryan Grimm or somebody else like that, I would be a little more harsh in my tone.
It was 5 minutes on C-SPAN, and then it just kind of went into the memory hole. The worst case scenario is that this would be a cudgel that people would use for years to further marginalize the cause of Medicare for all. It's like, oh, why are you crazy socialists still talking about this? This thing that only got a quarter of the votes in the House with a Democratic-controlled House. Why don't you move on to insert some god-awful centrist, watered down nonsense here? So I think it would have been, if it could have at least passed the House, that's a symbolic victory. There's some value in the optics of that. But I think the optics of a massive symbolic defeat are actually pretty bad. That's the case that I made there. Brianna Joy Gray, in the Current Affairs article, she said things like, well, people say it wouldn't get any attention, that it would just be 5 minutes on C-SPAN, but what if it were combined with the general strike? And I said maybe it's a little unkind in the Jackman article. It's a little bit like saying, what if it were combined with an intergalactic spaceship landing on the ceiling of, on the roof of Congress, and the aliens demanding Medicare for all? I mean, you might as well say that. We haven't even had a citywide general strike in the United States since the 1930s, and we have like a 6.7% private sector unionization rate. The idea that, between December, which was when she was saying this, in January, you get together a national general strike, doesn't strike me as very in touch with reality. And this idea that people had that it would have flushed out the soft co-sponsors, that people who said they were for Medicare for all would have voted against it, that you could primary them. It also doesn't strike me as in touch with reality, because if you know it's going to fail 3-1, if you're willing to do a meaningless symbolic co-sponsorship, why not do a meaningless symbolic vote for it when everybody knows there's no chance of it passing? In fact, if anything, it might have provided extra cover to Democrats who wanted the stolen valor supported it when it didn't matter. There were no consequences. So that was all my view. And look.
Okay, I get what you're saying. And I get what you're saying. You're saying this, you're being a good faith actor saying this. You're basically saying that the left don't have the strength and they're too generally weak in this country. And that's true. The left is unfortunately weak in ways that the right isn't. And to hear the right talk about how menacing the left is, and they talk about the left as the scary left, whatever, I'll be like, oh gosh, don't I wish. Let me just pause for a second here. This stream here will be on KRTD later on. I'm going to let y'all know this will be on KRTD media later on, perhaps sometime tomorrow. So when if anybody who's watching this on KRTD media, just remember that there is super chats. We are monetized now at KRTD media. I just want to go and let y'all know about that. So anyway, we'll let Ben continue.
Look, you can think I'm right about that. You can think I'm wrong about that. That doesn't, I think it's a relatively unimportant issue, because we're talking about a proposed parliamentary tactic that some backseat drivers said some politicians should have tried 2 years ago. I'm not going to be offended if you disagree with me about that. But all of this came up again this last week because these House Freedom Caucus hardliners were getting all of these concessions from McCarthy by withholding their votes from him. And so people like Brianna Joy Gray, Jimmy Dore said, aha, see, we were right? Force the vote, it works. Which didn't really make a lot of sense to me on a couple levels, mostly because the House Freedom Caucus people weren't asking for any symbolic floor votes on things that had no chance of passing. What they were asking for was stuff like rules changes and committee assignments. And in fact, if you go back and look at what happened during that force the vote debate, people who said, oh, well, even if they don't ask for Medicare for all floor vote, it's okay if they ask for things like committee assignments. That's a good enough strategy. We're mocked mercilessly for saying that, because what really mattered was a floor vote on Medicare for all. So we just have a quick clip here that this is Jimmy Dore and Matt Stoller during a discussion about force the vote.
Oh, before we get started on that, even with Build Back Better, since they didn't do force the vote on Medicare for all, could have done some kind of force the vote on what really mattered, to put a stop to Kirsten Sinema and to put a stop to Joe Manchin and put a stop to a handful of other corporate Democrats that basically made Build Back Better meaningless. Now, the way it was originally, the way that Build Back Better was done, didn't go far enough, but was far superior to what it would become, to the point where, there was no reason to really have it when it was done and over with. Because, we needed to go and have things like guarantee, parental leave. We needed things like free community college tuition, even though that didn't go far enough. We need free college generally, totally, 100%. lowering Medicare eligibility down to 60, which doesn't go far enough. We need Medicare for all, but if we're going to do that, we should at least lower it down to 50. Prescription drug reforms, and which that didn't happen, or what little happened, it was so little later on. There were things that could have been done. The jobs programs, infrastructure, some labor law reforms, things of that nature needed to be pushed hard and mercilessly. If you were going to go not do forcible on Medicare for all and save your powder for defending what was good about Build Back Better, that would have been fine. They didn't even do that. They didn't even do it for the minimum wage. The one thing that I was optimistic about under Biden, I figured we were going to get a $15 minimum wage nationally. But DeSantis, Florida, not because of DeSantis, but in Florida, they voted for a minimum wage increase of $15 an hour by ballot initiatives. So, and that's a weird thing. Even in red states, when you put up some progressive measures on the ballot, that kind of forcing the vote ends up working in the favors of what is decent. And that's a force of vote where you can get progressive things done. Because nobody's, are you going to put a force of vote? Or are you going to put up a referendum on the ballot on how to screw poor people? Well, they do. They're not going to dress the language that way. But anyway, let's go on here.
This is Jimmy Dore and Matt Stoller during a discussion about force the vote.
Yeah, positively about your campaign, because I like that you're saying they need to ask for things. And one of the things, AOC responded to me and said, actually, we have asked for things, and we're not being public with what we're asking for. But
it's a secret. It's a secret what they're asking for.
That's a real, but it's not. I mean, I know some of the. I mean, AOC is not the lead negotiator. That would be Pramila Jayapal. And like they are asking for things, but I think, and they're getting things. They're getting some representation on committees. It's like it's insider.
Fuck you. Go fuck yourself with your fucking committee. Fuck you fucking egghead nerd. I don't give a fuck about your committee shit. Nobody voted for her for a fucking committee. Why don't you stop saying that stupid shit?
That's directed at Matt, not at Brian.
Fucking Matt.
I have a point here.
God, you fucking bet you do. It's called a Poindexter. That's a fucking stupid thing to say.
Yeah.
Okay, and I tell you, we're kind of budgeting for time. So, point I'm trying to say is, people thought that Jimmy Dore was so mean about this sort of thing, and he's like just a jerk and all of that. No, he was absolutely justified and angry. And honestly, everybody should have been as angry as he was about this, honestly. And to have this ho-hum casual attitude when it comes to whether to have force of vote or not, I just find that very troubling. I do. And so anyway, let's go and continue with our next little story here. Oh yeah, let's do that. It sort of kind of leads to this here. McCarthy, he just got elected Speaker of the House. And oh boy, when this happened, there will be a little echo on this one probably, but it doesn't last long enough. So forget the echo when you hear it. Actually, you know what? There's a way I can go about it. I'm gonna talk right through it because you don't even hear what they're saying. Well, actually, it's 2 minutes and 11 seconds. Any echo, it's not gonna harm anything. So anyway, just watch what happens here when Kevin McCarthy becomes leader and he decides to have a little chat with Matt Gaetz. I would love to know what they're saying. Imagine the 4-letter words. battle of the jerks. There's no good guy in this scenario. Oh. Uh-oh. What do y'all think of this? They weren't bored. Okay. Isn't that interesting? Well, there you have it. There you have it. Right there, you saw what happened. There was a near fight that took place. That's what it looked like. You know, it's like I'm gonna this is going to be on KRTD, so I have to monitor my language. So yeah, you know, I'm gonna go and kick your behind. You know the word I'm using. God, I hate having to censor myself. Oh no, yeah, well, we'll bring it on. Oh, we'll take it outside. You saw one guy that they kind of pulled out of the way. And then you saw another one that they did the same thing too. Mike Rogers, I believe was his name, that they did that too. So, you know, not all is well in the GOP. Well, I was worried about a year ago, and a lot of us were concerned that it was going to be a super red tsunami taking over the U.S. House of Representatives with, you know, a powerful Marjorie Taylor Greene. How powerful she's going to be remains to be seen. I don't even know if she has any committee's assignments at this point. I should probably could find out. But here's the thing. Right now, this is what you're going to see more of. You're going to see a lot of drama with and he's going to have an uneasy time in the next 2 years. I'm talking about Kevin McCarthy. And there's not, you know, if you hate both parties, this is probably going to be the best 2 years around because nothing is going to get done. And sometimes nothing getting done is better than bad things getting done. Oh, I hate to talk of bipartisanship. Oh, I can't stand it, you know, because bipartisanship usually means, I'm quoting Ron Placone, he one time said bipartisanship usually means that the Republicans come up with a bad idea and the Democrats go along and embrace it. And that's usually what bipartisanship usually means. So whenever they talk about means testing our entitlements, it's because the Republicans are the ones who are like really cheerleading for it. And they finally convince Democrats to be in favor of it. An example of that happening, that almost happening, and thanks to Monica Lewinsky, it did not happen, was with the Monica Lewinsky affair scandal that took place because Newt Gingrich basically pressured Bill Clinton into trying to do some kind of privatization of Social Security. And when he was about ready to agree to it, which is why I just despise the Clintons. You know, I don't know why the Republicans hate the Clintons so much, but they do. But because the Clintons did everything that the Republicans ever wanted to do. That Lewinsky scandal basically saved this country from privatization of Social Security. And I do have a dog in this fight when it comes to Social Security because I'm up there in age where I'm about ready to get it, and I'm one of those people that want to have my Social Security. I paid into it all my life, and I'm ready to get it the first chance I can get. So there is that. Right now, we're going to go into the next story, and something happened yesterday, and I'll tell you about what happened to me last night before I went to work, and I discussed it with some friends on Twitter in a private group last night, and I know one of them is here. I think one of them's here. So anyway, what happened last night? I was, the Amazing Atheist was on live streaming, and he had an ongoing feud for years, with Steve Shives, who's another streamer. Not as well known as the Amazing Atheist, but he does streams about various topics, kind of like the Amazing Atheist. He's more of a shit lib compared to the Amazing Atheist. And he's basically made accusations about the Amazing Atheist, which isn't true. He can basically call him a bigot. He's called him a racist. He's called him all kinds of things that are not true. That's what shit libs do. This is why if some people's like, oh gosh, I wish he stopped using the term shit lib. And I have been using that term for a while. I use the term shit lib because shit libs to me are people who claim to be so bold and progressive, who trashes people to their left and calls them right wing. And I have no respect for people like that. And then they end up embracing certain right wing positions themselves while calling others right wing. And it boggles my mind. These are the people that rehabilitated George W. Bush. These are people who are liberal that rehabilitated George W. Bush, Liz Cheney, Henry Kissinger, John Bolton, all these folks. And mark my words, they're hating on Donald Trump right now. But there will be a time Donald Trump will be rehabilitated too. When you see, and Russell Dobler said this on Due Dissonance, that he predicts, and I think he's right, he predicts that the next president of the United States will be Ron DeSantis. Unfortunately, I do think that's a likely scenario too. Regarding the situation with the Amazing Atheist, Steve Shives, who's jealous of the popularity of TJ Kirk, that's his name in real life. They have not spoken to each other or insulted each other in years. They have, and everything. And he's been TJ's been suspended from Twitter. He doesn't want anything to do with Twitter anymore. I can't blame him. And I had a little Twitter dilemma with Steve Shives last night that I will tell you about in a few moments. So let's go and get into the topic here. Hold on a second. This is the Amazing Atheist versus Steve Shives. Let me get started on over here in the beginning.
Wretch and sinner that I am, ever expect to finally receive that most envied of blessings, the respect, the admiration, and the forgiveness of the one and only Steve Shives? Is that possible? Can it be? Well, today, for good or for ill, I'm going to get my answers, because Steve Shives has released a video called What Would Anti-SJWs Have to Do to Earn My Forgiveness? Let's find out exactly what the prescription is if I want to take this medicine.
Some random geek who still wishes he could give more money to Joanna. Joanna still needs help with back rent. Now the question. Steve, last Ask Away, a member of your channel said, TJ Kirk has done a 180. Pause for dramatic effect. TJ Kirk, the Amazing Atheist, who I bet still hates feminism, has done a 180? Reminds me of this TikTok by Francesca I want to show and share with your audience. It is less than 3 minutes. I'm sure you have opinions on TJ Kirk doing a 180, especially since he was one of many of the SJWs that has done takedown videos of you because you said, come on, guys, feminism is cool. Hence all of this.
TJ Kirk and Shoe on Head has made some remarks about feminism that even I found, I would say, unsettling or that I disagree with. they didn't like the term because of what they perceive it to be, because they're millennials. And I think that they have a different perception from what an old Generation X fart like myself sees it to be. And, their position on feminism, without them even knowing it, is that of a moderate progressive feminist from the 60s and 70s. But there is an aspect of some quarters of feminism that's some sections that emphasizes on the patriarchy way too much in rhetoric, and the whole yes queen, and the whole let's go and say all men are evil, and attitudes that even some progressives do find a little on the cringe side. And that's what someone like a shoe on head or TJ Kirk will address. And so they're like, oh, get that away from me. But neither of them want to subjugate women. Only thing that shoe on head has said, she doesn't think there's age disparity between women and men. And there is, obviously. There is. But that's probably the one area where I would disagree with her on. But here is, I'll let them continue.
The Steve Shives hate on the internet. The blocked by Steve, hashtag blocked by Steve Shives and all. I still haven't seen the video where TJ has done the 180. But if he's going to do a 180, what would he have to do? And what would you want him to do? Personally, just because someone says they are for Medicare for all doesn't change the fact that they're still an asshole. TJ Kirk, 180. So this is Francesca Ramsey's TikTok.
Anti-social justice word.
But what he said real quick, just because somebody's said that they're for Medicare for all, they can still be an asshole. He says that's correct. That is correct. Steve Shives, I presume, is for Medicare for all, since he did support Bernie Sanders in 2016. I don't know who he supported in 2020, but I assume if you're for Bernie Sanders, you're for Medicare for all. And no, Mickey Kantz, as I keep mentioning, is somebody I despise as far as online left personalities. And Ryan Grimm is somebody I despise as online left personalities. And they're both on record of being for Medicare for all. And I presume that they really do mean it, although their actions sometimes shows otherwise.
They are for Medicare for all doesn't change the fact that they're still an asshole. TJ Kirk, 180. So this is Francesca Ramsey's TikTok.
Anti-social justice warrior era is what made the alt-right pipeline mainstream, and I will not elaborate. I'll elaborate. I'm Francesca. I created a show for MTV called Decoded in 2015. It was all about race, pop culture, and identity. 8 seasons, over 90 episodes, and that entire time I was harassed by anti-social justice warriors on YouTube. So they would make these videos debunking my content, calling me names, sometimes using racial slurs, saying that I should unalive myself, that I should be SA'd, that I hate white people, that I hate men. They would talk about my now ex-husband. And no one did anything to protect me, but it was all under the guise of comedy. And the thinking was that they were purporting that marginalized people are lying about our experiences, we're lying about our history, we are making a big deal out of things that don't matter, and we're creating words out of thin air, which, hello, that's where words come from. Someone has to make them up. And because these videos would target people that were extremely online and in need of community, they were able to dupe people into consuming hours worth of content that had no research or fact-based evidence at all. They were pure opinion. And as we see with the pandemic, a lot of people don't understand the difference between opinions and facts. And when someone makes a 40-minute video debunking a 5-minute episode of MTV Decoded filled with lies and misinformation and strawman arguments, it's impossible to debunk it yourself without getting sucked into a hole of wasting your time and energy.
This has nothing to do with you as an individual, but anybody who will do a video on MTV in this day and age, yay or nay, positive or indifferent, positive or negative, or even indifferent, positive or negative, I would just have to scratch my head, because MTV should not have any relevancy in anybody's life, because MTV is dog crap compared to what it used to be. This has nothing to do with what's being discussed here, other than, MTV is just horrible to look at. I have not watched MTV in 20 some years. I'm planning to keep it that way.
I will never forget a guy made a whole music video that was animated, starring a character that looked suspiciously like me. I used to have locks, and so this was a black girl with locks, and it was all about how triggered she was and how upset she was, and essentially like creating this narrative that people who advocate for social justice are actually the ones oppressing white people, oppressing men, and just oppressing straight people. I mean, this guy spent money to have a video produced. He went into the studio. I mean, it was well done. Like, these people were making a living off of talking about me.
Now, this whole SJW thing that took place almost a decade ago, between a half and 2013, 2014, 2015, 16, 2017, 2018, that time period when you started hearing about social justice warriors. It got to a point where maybe, I always said that there were, and this is still my position, that there's such a thing as being woke and anti-woke, and there's anti-woke. If you're anti-woke because you're prejudiced against people of color and prejudice against the LGBTQ community, and you are wanting America to be what you perceive as this 1950s pristine land of black and white television that was not even reality back then. Such right-wing people with their mindset of that anti-woke can stuff it up where the sun doesn't shine. But if you're anti-woke in the sense that you are committed to being anti-racist, which I find racism absolutely abhorrent. There's no room for racism in my world. There's no room for any form of bigotry in my world. There's no room for that. There's no room for intolerance in my world. But I'm going to add this to what makes me different from those with the purple hair, the little anorexic college kids with the purple hair who don't know any better, even though their intentions are good, is that I oppose cancel culture and I'm a free speech absolutist. And that's the rub I have with those who are on the left hooked on the woke ideology. It's the anti-free speech, First Amendment attitude. Some, not all, have. The cancel culture posture is the problem I have, not the actual positions. So on the woke stuff, I'm with the woke all day long. I'm just not with the wokes when it comes to cancel culture, and I'm not with the wokes on basically silencing people, because I that's the line I draw. That's basically it. But some people think, it's gotten to a point where some people think that that the term SJW being thrown at somebody, or woke being thrown at somebody, now just means anybody who's mildly left of center. Oh, you're woke. You're woke. I've had somebody tell me that my position on healthcare, universal healthcare, Medicare for all, like they have in Canada, or National Health Service, like they have in the UK, or, socialized medicine, more broadly speaking, like they will have in Cuba, or what have you. That's woke. It's not woke. There's nothing woke about it. It's class reductionist. It's not class reductionist in this negative word. In the context, it's class reductionist in its most literal, neutral sense. There's nothing woke about covering people for healthcare. Nothing politically correct. It's the right thing for society to do. It's good for an economy. It's good for your competitive edge. I mean, it has positive repercussions throughout the economy, other than it helps an individual when they're in healthcare need and they have medical needs taken care of that needs to be addressed. I'm getting tongue twisted today. That's the point I'm trying to make. So, but I just wanted to kind of touch on that. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to forward this because I saw this yesterday. So let me get to, I think this is where I was at. And because I'm kind of budgeting for time. I think this is where I was at, right here.
Please, God, forgive me, Steve Shives. Oh, please. I need it so bad.
Right here.
More than anything.
Right there. Hold on.
about me in the video that's supposed to be about me? I mean, I see my name 50 places.
Right here. Hold on.
Someone who earns a living.
Screen, and then you keep talking about this Francesca.
Hold on. Sorry about that. I think this is it.
Yeah. So what she's describing there is exactly how it was. Like that.
What the hell is that? What was funny?
That rings completely true to me. And Francesca is a fantastic person
Why is this video where we're supposed to be talking about me so much about this Francesca person that I've literally never heard of and do not care about? Quit talking about her. Talk about me. I don't care about her. Say what you want to say about me. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for you to mention me. It's annoying to see my name on the screen, and then you keep talking about this Francesca person that I don't know who she is. I don't care who she is. Stop it.
Incredibly talented person, and
great.
She has become so successful as a writer and has been able to do things and earn a good living and build a reputation
good for her.
As a comedian and a writer. And
comedian, yeah, I'm sure she's hilarious.
Someone who earns a living away from YouTube and away from this sort of thing makes me so proud and so happy. What would TJ have to do?
All right, well, are we actually going to talk about me in the video that's supposed to be about me? I mean, I see my name 50 places on the screen, but now we're fine. I'm going to even put my headphones on for this. I want to hear this. I want this piped right into my eardrums, man. I want to know, what are we going to... Let's hear it. How do I get that forgiveness? Because I have been, I'll be honest with you, I've been tossing and turning at night. Please, how do I get Steve Shives to forgive me? Please, God, forgive me, Steve Shives. Oh, please. I need it so bad. More than anything else in this world, I just need that Steve Shives forgiveness to finally happen. Please, when's it going to happen, Lord? When? All right, let's find out.
And what do I want him to do? The second question is easy. I don't want him to do anything. I don't give a shit what he does.
That's weird. You don't give a shit what I do, and yet you literally tried to have me like deplatformed everywhere. Like you literally engaged in like these little secret operations behind the scenes to organize flagging campaigns against my channel and get me taken off of this platform and like destroy my livelihood. So it's kind of hard to believe that you're just like, I don't even care what he does. Who cares? Whatever. Whatever, man. I couldn't care less.
It's difficult for me to imagine anything he could do that would possibly make a difference to me. And really, that's the key. They say that...
it doesn't look... Guys, it's not looking good. I'll be honest with you. If my long-standing goal of finally just being able to look into the eyes of Steve Shives and hear those beautiful words, I forgive you. It looks like that might have to remain a pipe dream. Because it doesn't look like he's in the forgiven mood. Seems like he still holds a little bit of a grudge.
When you forgive someone, you do it more for yourself.
He hangs out with Christy Winters, and he's friends with Kevin Logan. So I personally wouldn't care if Steve Shives... in fact, I wouldn't want Steve Shives to forgive me. I would rather be enemies with Steve Shives.
Yeah. So here's the thing about forgiveness that this video, I don't know if it's going to address it, but maybe it will. He says when you forgive someone, it's more about yourself. I disagree with that. I have a very old school sort of idea about forgiveness. I think forgiveness is not for the person doing the forgiving. I think it's for the person being forgiven. But here's the thing. I don't feel like I've ever wronged Steve Shives. And if he feels like I've wronged him, that's just a matter of opinion and disagreement. But the other thing is, I feel like to forgive someone, you have to have some sort of actual like relationship with them. To be forgiven to me is like, I wronged a friend, and now I'm coming to that friend and saying, please, here's the circumstances behind what I did. Here's what was going on in my head. Here's what I'm doing to change. Here's why it's never going to happen again. Please forgive me. That's forgiveness. But this is like a guy that, as long as I've ever known about his existence, I have not liked him. He has not liked me. Neither of us has ever liked each other for even a second. And that doesn't mean I can't enjoy his content occasionally, by the way. I will watch his Star Trek videos because I'm a huge Star Trek The Next Generation fan, and sometimes he has interesting thoughts on it, and I can appreciate, hey, he put a lot of thought and effort into this Star Trek take, and it's interesting. And sometimes I look at his Star Trek stuff and I say, oh, I really disagree with that. But we both are big Star Trek The Next Generation, in particular, I think, fans. And sometimes I will watch his content pertaining to that and enjoy it. But doesn't change how I feel about him as a person, which is that he ranges, somewhere in my mind from like mild to strong dislike depending on the day. So that's basically where Steve Shives rates. That's where he's always rated. He's never done, I mean, he's not a nice person. He's never done anything to lead me to believe that he's anything more than a completely unrepentant asshole. Like, worse than me. And I'm an asshole. So the idea that, you know, I would even be in a position to seek his forgiveness is kind of ridiculous to me, because we've never been on good terms. Forgiveness to me is someone trusted you, someone believed in you, something like that. You betrayed their trust, you messed up, you made a mistake, whatever. I've never made a mistake with Steve Shives. I've always been pretty upfront about what I think of him, and I still think it to this day. And I don't take back. I can't think of a single thing I've ever said about Steve Shives that I take back in any way, shape, or form. And so there's no, not only do we not have the setup for forgiveness, but even if we were somehow going to randomly out of nowhere begin to like each other, that wouldn't really even be forgiveness. That would just be, I've changed my mind about you.
Then for them, you know, you forgive yourself to release yourself from a burden, right? So you don't have to carry this hatred around. You don't have to carry this burden around anymore. And in my case, that's not necessary, because I don't really carry around a lot of anger or hatred toward the people who harassed me, and my wife at the time, and my friends, and, you know, a whole bunch of other people. I don't carry around a lot of anger about them because I don't really think about it. It's like,
yeah, but you did because you made a damn video about the Amazing Atheist. Somebody, you are known to suffer from Amazing Atheist derangement syndrome. I refer to everything that people don't like as a derangement syndrome, as you've noticed, and that's how I took derangement syndrome and put it and take Trump's name out, put it on anything that people don't like or things that people do like. Although I do have some political differences, obviously, with all American socialists. He did talk about a derangement syndrome that people do suffer from. AOC derangement syndrome A, she could do no wrong. AOC derangement syndrome B, everything she stands for is evil. Bernie Sanders derangement syndrome A, you know, Bernie Sanders could do no wrong. I used to suffer from that, by the way. Bernie Sanders derangement syndrome B, you know, everything Bernie Sanders stands for is evil. You know, a Trump derangement syndrome A, Trump derangement syndrome, you know, he's awesome. Trump derangement syndrome B, he's evil. Tulsi Gabbard derangement syndrome A, she's awesome, which I used to suffer from. Tulsi Gabbard derangement syndrome B, she's evil. You know, fill in the blank of whoever. Obama derangement syndrome A, Obama derangement syndrome B, you know, you name whatever personality out there in the political world, you know, that people suffer from it. And you know, and without any nuance. And he suffers from Amazing Atheist derangement syndrome, like the really negative, like hateful kind, you know, where it's just kind of like, dude, get over it, you know, that sort of thing, you know. So, you know, which is interesting because he tried having the Amazing Atheist removed from Twitter, which he's been removed from Twitter anyway, and removed from YouTube and other platforms. Now, I went on his site yesterday, on his site, Steve Shives' site, and I admit I trolled him. I sure did. I decided to go and troll him, and suffice to say, what he did, yeah, you guessed it. He went and he blocked me. Why? Because I told him that I think that he and TJ Kirk are like best buds and all of that. So anyway, so I guess it's not that it's not like I'm, like I visited his Twitter page and kept up. I didn't even follow the guy. I really, because I never care for Steve Shives. But last week it was delicious knowing who I got blocked by. I got blocked by probably one of the least favorite people on the online left ecosystem, and that was, of course, to be blocked by Nomiki Konst, NATO Nomiki. She basically called me a liar when she said that she never said anything negative about Jimmy Dore during Force the Vote, and she did. She did. She basically said that his actions going to prevent us from having Medicare for all for the next 10, 15 years. And she did say that. And I called her on that. And then she blocked me because NATO Nomiki is a thin-skinned Karen. And, and as far as I'm not even a fan. I'm already not a fan of Majority Report, but she gave up on that thing a long time ago. But she certainly ruined the show. And my understanding is that she's not on the show anymore. So yeah, for what she did to Kristen Gonzalez in that primary, I mean, that was even within the context of a Democratic primary, what she did was kind of nasty on her part. I have not done a commentary on Shoe on Head, but Shoe on Head, there are people that hates her guts, and it's hilarious, but sometimes it's kind of like, I just want to tell people just leave her alone. Well, Progressive Voice host, and his name is Sahil Habibi. I like to call him Little Shank because let's face it, when Shank has his heart attack and die, because he's not exactly a picky eater, and they're going to need somebody to replace him. Who better than to replace him than Little Shank? And I'm talking about Sahil. I used to like Progressive Voice, but he's became quite a shitlib lately. So anyway, listen to what
something pretty interesting happened. I was actually blocked by Shoe on Head. That's a pretty weird idea to make a video about this, but she's a pretty influential person in the sort of like weird merger between politics and like just kind of onlineness and like anti-SJW stuff. Jesus Christ. But she's somebody who's very influential, like over 1 million subscribers, a big piece in that whole anti-SJW movement. And I know a lot of people here weren't actually active during that time, so I just thought I would take this opportunity to fill you in. But during the anti-SJW movement, there was a big YouTube movement in 2015 where there was a complete colossal wave online against social justice warriors, quote unquote. So people basically saying that, like, racism is systemic and, there's a lot of misogyny against women in society, et cetera, et cetera. Now, all of that actually is true. The anti-SJW movement was all a farce. It was a lie. It was a fake. It was a fraud. All of that stuff is actually true. Now, with the vantage point of being now, where it's like that smoke is settled, even I had kind of fell into the BS of, no, yeah, it is a little bit like people are going too far in terms of that kind of stuff. No, actually, they're right completely. There is structural racism that exists in the United States. You can look at the disparities in sentencing that runs regression studies that run regression tests, putting in all confounding factors and finding that Black people, with all of the controls in place, same record, same charge, they're still getting higher rates. That housing, redlining and all that stuff happened, and the biggest predictor of generational wealth is housing. So Black people are institutionally targeted and discriminated against for that. And yes, misogyny is huge, huge, huge throughout society in our entire culture. You can even see with like Andrew Tate now, and with the whole situation with Kai Cenat.
Okay, get to your point. I'm not going to disagree with what you're saying there. Except, spoiler alert, I know I've seen the video here. You're going to go and try to make Shoe on Head into something she's not, but go ahead.
So it's very, very serious. So she ended up blocking me. Now, the thing about this is, right, she's a flip-flopper. Okay, so she's kind of like a flip-flopper around. So she was like I think a Bernie Sanders person while also...
Oh, God. Hold on a second, folks. Sorry about that.
SJW in 2016, but then had said some really sketchy stuff, like saying, I'm forgetting her name exactly, but it was the woman who played in the Ghostbusters movie, and I think it was Leslie Jones, I think was her name, and she says she agreed with Milo Yiannopoulos that she looked like an ape, which is just like insanely racist, just like crazy stuff. But then when 2020 came around, the SJW movement, anti-SJW movement, was dying. It was dying. It was almost dead. And so what ended up happening was she ended up getting off the ship. So some people are good at getting off ship and they can jump onto trends. Somebody that was a good example of that was Thunderfoot. Thunderfoot rode the wave of anti-SJW content until the anti-SJW movement died, and then he moved back into his technological and mathematical thing. He does a lot of different stuff. So she was doing the same thing. So she hopped back onto the progressive train in 2020.
Okay, Siobhan Head was a Bernie Sanders supporter from day one in 2016 and 2020. She was a Bernie Sanders supporter 100% in 2016. She was a Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard supporter in 2020, just like me. I would not have said what she said about what was her name? Leslie Jones, I think that's her name. I don't know why people will go and make off the cuff remarks, but people go and misspeak. Not saying it's a good thing and it's terrible, but I don't know if that makes Siobhan Head, David Duke. Okay, stop trying to do that. I'm tired of people trying to do that sort of thing.
On a pro-Bernie, pro-Tulsi train. So she ended up jumping back into the progressive sphere. I always warned caution to you guys. You can watch my videos about Siobhan Head that I had made in like 2020 or 2021. She's not a principled person. She's not like a Kyle Kulinski or a Sam Cedar or somebody like that.
Thank God she's not like Sam Cedar. Thank goodness she's not like Sam Cedar. Kyle Kulinski, she's probably a little more like Kyle Kulinski. She might be a little bit better than Kyle Kulinski, considering that Kyle Kulinski has kind of turned into a Biden bro lately. She's a little more critical of Biden than he is. She has a little more of an independent streak than he does. But thank goodness that there's no anything even remotely close to being like Sam Cedar.
That who really has like strong like principles and beliefs that they will abide by. She's more so just kind of a flip-flopper that kind of goes back and forth, right?
She hasn't flip-flop. In a lot of ways, I'll be upfront. In a lot of ways, Siobhan has she's basically me if I was a young millennial attractive female. I mean, that's if I was a young millennial attractive female, I would be Siobhan Head. That as far as that's concerned. So and again, I don't agree with everybody on it. There are things I don't agree with Siobhan Head on, but I'm certainly closer ideologically to Siobhan Head than I am Sam Cedar by a long shot.
That's kind of her thing. So why exactly did I get blocked, right? That's probably the question you're asking. Well, here it is. I actually had to pull this up in an incognito window. This is always embarrassing when you have to do this. You have to pull up an incognito window of somebody. And so here's what she sent out. She sent out this tweet saying, LMFAO, all caps, 11:12 a.m. And this is no diss to Siobhan Head, but like her content is much, very, very low level in terms of like information and understanding of things. But most people are of that level of like knowledge and understanding of things. So, you're not really going to get like an actual understanding of like what a super PAC is or how it was created or like, Citizens United. You're not going to get that kind of stuff, which again, that's no diss. Again, most content has to be like that because ultimately that's what people's intelligence levels are, right? People they know the name Citizens United, but if you ask them to explain the case to you, they wouldn't be able to tell you like what the actual details of the Citizens United case were, probably at all. But anyways, this is a post right here. It's a picture, okay? It says the all-female PAC celebrate women everywhere who are flipping the status quo. So it's a picture here. You can see of 3 M&Ms, I guess women's style. You can see one with glasses. Two of them have lashes, and so you can see that it's these PACs, and it's posted. It's M&M supporting women flipping the status quo.
I don't care about the political agenda of M&Ms regarding gender ideology one way or the other. And for you, Sahil, or Shoe on Head, or people on Fox from an opposite perspective, making political hay out of freaking M&Ms. Come on now. Is that what you're going to go and focus on? I don't eat a lot of sweets because I am trying to lose weight. So when you see me snack on sweets, I only snack like on Sundays on sweets. I'm trying to cut back on my carbs. I'm skinnier now than I was a year ago, but I'm not as skinny as I was in 2015. I'm trying to get back to that. I did lose 43 pounds since last March. So that's good. Anybody who's known me since day one on YouTube, you could tell I'm skinnier now than I was 3 years ago when you first saw me. So anyway, thing about it is with the sweets, like M&Ms and all that, I don't think about politics until somebody makes it a political issue. It's not important.
M&M's bag. And so there's kind of a few ways to react to this. Now, I want to know, when you saw these packs first, write down in the comment section below what your very, very first reaction to these were. I'm not talking about your conscious reaction. I'm talking about your subconscious reaction. So what was your subconscious reaction when you saw this?
My conscious reaction is I don't give a flip about the politics of M&Ms.
Now, this kind of thing gets made fun of a lot because it's kind of like a fake feminism, like a McFeminism. You know how like McDonald's, like fake chicken and stuff like that, right? So it's like fake feminism, essentially, like McDonald's turning its sign upside down. It's like, hey, how about instead of that, you raise wages for your workers, which will disproportionately help women.
Yes, raise wages for the workers at, I think they're affiliated with Hershey's. Yeah, raise wages for the people in that company. That's one thing that could be done. With what was his name? Colin Kaepernick. Everybody making a political hay on both sides. And the right wing boycotting Nike. Oh, there's reasons to boycott Nike, not because Colin Kaepernick. Oh, gosh, I cannot think of his name. Colin Kaepernick. The guy. I cannot think his name. He kneeled during the American anthem. I don't even know if kneeling is all that disrespectful, but hey, you got people on the other side that wants to make a political issue out of a culture war issue out of everything. Colin Kaepernick. That's how you say his name. Anyway, regarding his situation. And that situation is this, and I got to close out. Have one more segment I was going to do, but I think I'm going to probably do that segment tomorrow with Jimmy. So there will be a live stream tomorrow with Jimmy. So we'll probably touch that story first thing tomorrow. So anyway, thing about Colin Kaepernick, that's his name, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my face back here because I'm going to sign off in just a few moments here. Thing about Colin Kaepernick and Nike, the right wing wanted to boycott Nike. Well, there's a good reason to boycott Nike, not because of what he did. It's because the company was sent elsewhere for cheaper labor and then sell it at an outrageous price here in the United States. That's an outrage, folks. That is a terrible outrage. So the thing to do in that regard is to be concerned about the wages of these workers. That's what you have to do. You have to work on raising the wages of workers, bring the company back to the United States, or if you're going to have it in another country, have it so that the workers in that other country have a living wage, have unions, have benefits, that sort of thing. And if they don't, then you can boycott that. You can boycott the hell out of them. But for culture war reasons, ridiculous. And there was more to that story. But what he was going to say is that Shoe on Head is a grifter, and that Shoe on Head was he didn't say it in the video, but he was basically saying she's going to become the next Candace Owens or the next Dave Rubin or the next Tim Pool. It's what's basically he's trying to say, because she's because some of the things she says and some of the, weird ways that she says things at times. And that's her shtick. That's what makes her unique. And, she's not a follower. I mean, I don't know her personally. But you know what? I am probably the only person in the state of North Carolina that owns a shoe on head plushie. Yes, folks, I own a shoe on head plushie. I bought it 2 years ago when she advertised it on Hell World. And I was just like, I'm going to buy one. Well, anyway, I know I'm sad. But anyway, I just thought I have, it's been a while since I shown that. I used to have the plushie in the background there. She said she was going to go and play a video of people that buy the plushie and put it on the air, but I never did actually see it. So, oh well. But anyhow, he's basically just trying to throw the right wing label at Shoe on Head in the same way that they're throwing it at Brianna Joy Gray, that some of these people are throwing it at Jimmy Dore, some of these people are throwing it at they're throwing it at Gray Zone, they're throwing it at they're throwing it at various people now, people on the left, people who are actually really on the left, getting accused of being right wing. And because it's not that they're it's not that necessarily that they're super left, but they haven't changed, and they're not embracing positions that even shitless shouldn't be embracing. The positions like embracing the Bush-Cheney consensus of Washington for 20 years ago. These people that I mentioned do not embrace that. And they're being called right wing for it. And then when people in Congress on the Republican side vote in certain ways or take a position certain ways that a Democrat making that particular position 20 years ago would have been called a traitor. Substitute Russia-Ukraine situation with Iraq 20 years ago, where if you question the dear leader Bush and Cheney, you're considered a traitor. Now, if you question the dear leader Biden and Harris, you're considered pro-Putin. And I don't particularly like some of these Republicans that are taking an anti-war position, and some of them are doing it because Biden is for the war and the Democrats are for the war. As soon as DeSantis become president, you're going to see them go back to their Bush-Cheney style neocon posture, and that's what's going to happen more than likely. So it's called compulsive contrarianism. And then some of the people who are like rah rah rah, let's go and whip what's his name, Putin's rear end. Well, those people are going to suddenly become peace activists again. So, I'm going to go to a rally. I'm going to go and leave in a minute. I'm getting a little long-winded here. I'm going to a rally in D.C. and on February 19th in Washington called Rage Against the War Machine, sponsored by the Libertarian Party and sponsored by the People's Party. And thank you, Joe Evans, for telling me about that a couple of weeks ago. I'm planning to go. And the thing about it is that the situation of coalitions, building coalitions, and where the anti-war left and the anti-war right, we may not agree with everything, but we want to keep the troops out of harm's way. And what's good for our troops is keeping them out of harm's way, and it's good for America. That's the way. If you want to really, for those on the other side, you want to make keep America great, keep them out of these wars. But that's keeping America great in a way that it's not harmful to other countries. So and in that regard, it's in that context, it's okay. So anyway, it's called compulsive contrarianism. too many people sadly suffers from it. It's sad. I am about ready to log off, but I'm going to go on the chat line and make a quick announcement and then log off officially. Okay, we have John Masters, Leftist Rocks. They do. We have Snipe Hunter. Hello, how are you, my friend? Warren. Oh, I can't wait for the to be watching you guys on the secret show. Hey, how are you doing, Uncle Warren? Let's see here. Snipe Hunter. Hey, Warren. Absolutely. Yep. Everybody, these chat lines are so friendly to each other. Let's see. All right. Les Bones, how are you doing today? Let's see. Hello, Les Bones. How are you? Yep. Let's see here. Yeah, Kelly, how are you doing today? Yeah, let's see. Well, it looks like we have the usual suspects here, so that's good. There's a few people missing, but we do have some of the usual suspects. And Yankee Tanky, how are you today? Hey, Willie, hope you're doing well tonight. And likewise, I hope you're doing well too. See. I will probably later on this evening. I'm going to drop you an email. So I don't know how late you're going to be up, but anyway, stick around. I'm going to make an announcement in a few moments here. So and let's see. Well, her name is Shoe on Head, so being a flip flopper isn't much of a stretch. You know, Warren, that's pretty good. You're absolutely right. So anyway, this will be on the KRTD Media channel, YouTube channel, and the other platforms on KRTD in between now and sometime tomorrow afternoon. Had a little situation, but that's going to get corrected. So I did it on my stream tonight. So it's on my stream and all of that. That's going to get taken care of in the next few hours. So so there is that. Also tomorrow evening. Oh, it's tonight at midnight. Be sure to watch Extra Booyah, and you know that's and that will let me put that down on the screen here for y'all. Here, let's see here. Let me do that real quick. And that's Warren and that's Jimmy working together. And they want to be doing the secret show, as you can see. And I'll show you that there on the screen in a second. All right. Da-da-dum, da-dum, bum. There we go. All right, and that's the secret show tonight at midnight. So be sure to drop on by and you know just and see here. And the you should go on there on his site, and that's going to be at Extra Booyah, one word. And I'll put that down on StreamYards here. Let's see. You should go on the YouTube site. He's on the other platforms too. So, and extra Booyah. There we go. And so right there it is. That's the channel you go on. That's youtube.com/@Extra Booyah. And you go on there, you'll be able to catch the program. I will also be on the Monday. Let's see, Monday I will be on the Jamar Jabari podcast at 11 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. Keaton Weiss, Russell Dobular will be my guest on the Willie Bragg Show. And that's be at 6:30 on Monday Eastern Standard Time, and tomorrow night at 8:00, of course. Jimmy and I will be co-hosting the Willie Bragg Show, and we'll be sharing some politics there too. And kind of like what, instead of me and her co-hosting what, me and her would be co-hosting the Willie Bragg Show, and it would just be called the Willie Bragg Show when me and her are co-hosting it on Sunday at 8:00, like we're going to do tomorrow. So there is also that. So anyway, wishing you all the best. And I will talk to you all later. I am signing off right now. But let me just say, if you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. And to always remember to reject corporate media, because they have absolutely nothing at all to offer to us. Not a doggone thing to offer to us. So there is also that. So yeah, get a second opinion, get 22 opinions if you need to, because corporate media has nothing to offer us, not a damn thing. So anyway, I will talk to you all later. Take care. Good night.